So Zelensky, I think what's funny is I saw a tweet. I wish I had bookmarked it because it was hilarious. It says something like Zelensky leaves the United States without a deal, makes a deal with Europe and Canada. Canada agrees to send one F-18 that's been out of service for 20 years. Suddenly Zelensky goes, America? Like so Zelensky looks for a peace deal with Trump. Ukrainian leader now says he regrets the White House row and is ready to work under Donald Trump's strong leadership. Amid fears the country will only last a matter of months without U.S. support. Boy, that was totally not expected.
After that video, I really think Trump wanted us to see that, because that's probably was a taste of what the behind the scenes negotiations looked like. And Zelensky was just so insufferable and acted like a little brat the whole time. It was like you just wanted to pull your hair out watching that. So I'm glad we got to witness it.
I think Zelensky thought he was going to have this moment, and number one, that they wouldn't openly treat him the way they did in the office, which is like
they punked him. Yeah.
Right. And also he thought, oh, the American people will always stand beside me. They like me so much. Like, I don't think he realized how astroturfed his popularity was, because he only hung out with like dumb Democrats.
Hannah Claire, what do you make of reportedly there was some sort of clandestine meeting between him and Democrats before the meeting with Trump, and then the meeting went sideways, and people are calling it, what is it? A violation of the is it the Hatch Act? I think, where basically they were negotiating with him allegedly, and then suddenly the deal fell apart. What do you think? What do you think about that?
I think Zelensky's stupid if he thought he could meet with Democrats and then that Trump would go along with whatever deal they offered him. I mean, it's not like he didn't have almost 18 months of warning that the tides were changing in America. I don't know if the meeting really happened. I totally believe that there are Democrats who keep in contact with Zelensky. I mean, it's like when any other famous person suddenly pulls out, Beyonce out of their Rolodex and has her come to their campaign event. We won't say who did that. There is this weird cross culture of being like, oh, I'm on the right side of history for having supported this guy. I think it would also be sort of ludicrous of Democrats to think that they could somehow circumvent the Trump administration on this, because it really shows that they're out of touch with the will of most Americans. I mean, there are Americans who are sympathetic to the literal Ukrainians who might be living in areas affected by war, but Zelensky as a spokesperson is not interesting at all. People feel as though he is entitled, and it's, he always postures as this strong guy, but you only have crazy people defending the like lack of suit wearing or all of this stuff. I think that the Trump administration, again, we've talked about the Pam Bondi stuff and all of the gaps, but actually there were some major wins last week, especially when it comes to this foreign policy. People are nervous about trade wars, but I think that
tariffs are so temporary. People don't get that. Like, it's going to be rough for a week. And then they're going to obviously negotiate this.
The stock market is opening down and this, whatever. Actually, the more you talk about it, the more anxiety you, the media, are creating. Like, let's just let this play itself out and see what happens. And I think Zelensky thought that's what he was doing. In a weird way, he was like, oh, well, I will then go to Europe and America will feel so badly that they will turn around. Like, no, I don't think you know anything about Donald Trump or J.D. Vance.
Well, what did Trump do?
Elected them.
Yeah, what did Trump do immediately? He said, okay, well, we're just going to stop all aid.
Good.
You like Canada? Hope maple syrup works against the commies.
I saw this headline, I think, from the BBC that was like, European Union says it's willing to step up after U.S. ends military aid. And I swear everyone that's around Trump is like, cool, good, great. So we don't have to continue to pay for this thing that we don't want to pay for, that's never going to come to an end if Zelensky has anything to say about it. Excellent. Ideal.
Yeah, where have they been the last 3 years? I think that I have this image bookmarked on my X account that shows basically now I'm not so naive to think that This is NATO defense spending, by the way. This is another, I'm kind of baking these two together. The United States has spent $860 billion on NATO compared to Canada's $29 million. Or Germany, who actually has spent a good amount of money, $70 million. You know, the UK, I mean, all these countries in NATO have spent nothing. Yet the Democrats seemed hell-bent, or somebody seems hell-bent on getting Ukraine into NATO so that we would be forced to go to war. You know, that we would be forced with boots on the ground to defend Ukraine. The time to like negotiate for NATO is not when you're at war. You know, it's such a weird thing that got asked. Like, I don't understand it. And if you look at this clip, here's a clip from CNN. I'm going to play the whole thing. It's only a minute, but like they're talking about Trump's approval as it relates to the Ukraine war.
Where's the audio?
Oh, you guys don't hear anything?
No.
Hold, please. Maybe I forgot to click the share audio thing. Hold, please. How about
In
this?
2024.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I think the easiest way we can kind of just ask this is, do Americans like the way that Trump's handling his job and compare it to how they felt about Joe Biden? So this is the net approval rating. You look at Joe Biden back in 2024.
Now, net approval in terms of Russia, Ukraine.
Okay.
He was 22 points underwater. Holy cow. You look at Donald Trump, it's just a different planet entirely. I mean, the gulf between these two is wider than the Gulf of America or Mexico, depending on which side of the aisle you stand on.
It's Gulf of America.
Wow, I'm surprised CNN is saying anything positive about Trump.
This
right
guy,
now.
they brought this guy in to be their stats guy, and he is constantly having to deliver bad news. And then it shows how it's
He's
changed.
a +2. So look, at this particular point, Americans are giving Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt. He's doing considerably better than Joe Biden was doing on the handling of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And so on this simple question, I think Americans are saying, okay, Donald Trump's doing all right on this.
What about specifically on how they feel about bringing the war to an end?
Okay.
This one's
so,
bad.
you know, look, questions on this can be quite complicated, but I think this kind of gets at sort of where the American trend line is.
It's not really complicated.
Americans on the Russia-Ukraine war want a quicker end of the war, but Russia keeps its captured land. Look at this, 50%, bare majority coming in here, support Ukraine's right to fight, even if it means a longer war. That's at 48. This is very, very close.
And look how that question's worded, by the way. I do also support Ukraine's right to fight, but I don't want to pay for it. So these are people that just say, like, if you ask me on the street, like, hey, do you support Ukraine fighting a war against Russia? I would say they have every right to defend themselves. But that's not the real
even if
question.
it means a longer war, like, sure,
That's
they
also
can go
fine.
to war for as long as they want to, as long as they think it's right for them.
Right.
But I don't know that we have to be involved in it.
Well, and then here's this trend line. Shows why Trump was right and why Trump had, Trump didn't have to flinch.
The trend line on this question is so important because that want a quick end of the war. Look at this. You go back to August of 2022, it was at 31%. Now we're at 50%. I mean, that is a rocket ship.
I mean, that's a 20-point jump in 2 years. And like, if you wait another 6 months or a year, it's going to be at 70%. Like, Americans are over this war. I think if you're in the know, we were duped and that it was a proxy war against Russia. And I think that if you're not in the know, you're probably like, hey, what's going on here? Like, it's been 3 years, right? Like, what do you, Melonie, and now again, like, he has now said, this is on the back of him saying, oh, the war's not going to end for a very long time. Then like 8 minutes later, he's like, oh, actually, and then the rumor is that Trump's going to announce a mineral deal tonight. Which means if that's true, Zelensky tried to better deal us. Yeah. And like, I hope that Trump makes the deal. Like, he comes back and like, oh, the loan was at 8% before. Okay, well, I'm coming back. Cool. Welcome back. Loan's 18% now. Like, that's what a real dealer would do. Like, stick it. Sorry, Zelensky. That was yesterday's deal. Before you went to, and you tried to humiliate America by using Canada and the EU.
Who were all still like, but we should probably talk to America about this.
They know. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good work, Zelensky.
Yeah,
Man.
this one is I mean, what do you make of the optics of this, Melanie? Like, it doesn't look good. He looks
Oh, it
like he was
doesn't.
literally just throwing shit against the wall.
It doesn't look good for him at all. And he just acted like a spoiled, entitled brat in that whole meeting with Trump and JD Vance. I was really proud of how JD Vance even handled all of that. And it was like, okay, we actually have men in office right now. And it's refreshing to see that, just bold, unapologetic in everything they're trying to reason with this guy. But yeah, he just seemed so unappreciative too of what America has already done and the funds that they've given. He's like, oh yeah, well, Europe did this or they did this or and he just seemed so ungrateful. It was like,
Well, you
dude.
know what? Didn't it remind you of, I don't know if either one of you remember this. I'm 0 for 3 on this today. But there used to be a viral clip of this woman, I think it was after Hurricane Katrina, where was it the Obama administration? I believe it was, where she got like the Obama phone and like a big screen TV, and like they're interviewing her on the news. Please tell me if this is, I don't know what that effect is called, where like Berenstein Bears versus Berenstein Bears.
Oh, right.
Like maybe I made this up, but I feel
Mandela
like,
effect or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like I saw a video clip of her being like, yeah, well, it's not even HD or something like
Yeah,
that.
I remember this too.
I think that happened.
There was some kind of complaint. People were like, I don't know if that's your biggest problem right now.
Yeah, it was the same energy. Like, he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're paying for literally everything, but like, I mean, can't you do more?
I
In fact,
know.
shouldn't you do more?
I think it's interesting that he went into that meeting posturing as like a tough guy. Like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna stand up
Right.
to crazy Donald Trump and JD Vance, and I am here, whatever. When really he's coming to ask for yet another handout in a war
Yep.
that he cannot win without us. Like,
Right.
I'm not saying he had to grovel, but like, surely this, like, I know better than you two.
That didn't go over well.
Somebody, he has to have one advisor who was like, please don't do this. Instead, he's continuing to like play as if he is some sort of war hero in his like semi-military.
Yeah. Exactly. That's why he wouldn't wear a suit too.
He spends more time flying around the world.
The war.
Yeah, I'll
Like,
wear your
we're
costume
embarrassed
after the
by
war.
our like
Yeah.
binders phase 1 social media gaffe, but this guy's career is based on sort of pretending as though he is about to deploy to the front lines for his country while he gets flown around the world to go to all kinds of influential meetings and have all kinds of politicians be like, how can we help you so that we look good to our own people? Like, he is used to a certain level of entitlement. If everyone around him is like, okay, Trump's in now, you should continue to act that way. In fact, you should be hostile to him. That will make him want to work with you. He should fire everyone on his staff. Actually, he should resign because he's not even supposed to be president right now. Anyways, he just has martial law in effect and is, hanging out, the way a, I don't know, authoritarian dictator might do. But,
right. Well, that's, well, I mean, we don't want to go
that's
that.
neither here nor there.
Yeah,
We can't even talk about that.
Yeah, but like, I'll wrap up this topic by saying like, by the way, I think I will stream Trump's address tonight. So if you guys want to tune in for that, I'll be there, and maybe I'll see if I can get some people on. But it's bonkers to me that this guy has spent more time flying around the country, around the world, demanding money than anywhere near the front lines in Ukraine. Right. That's just a fact. And I'm not saying Donald Trump would have to be on the front lines, but I'm saying like maybe chill on the cosplay. And like,
well, that's the thing. Donald Trump wouldn't fake being like, I'm about to go to the front lines and like walk around in like a military service uniform. He has more class than that. He would wear a suit or he would wear something appropriate. This guy is literally, it feels like stolen valor from his own people.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Sorry,
I will say
Jeremy.
my before I go to viewer comments, my final prediction: Zelensky will not be in power at the end of this year. That's my my prediction. And I would go further to say that if he does not come to the peace table sooner than later, he will not be alive. Like, I think that's a real legitimate, whether the CIA gets rid of him or his own military says, bro, we want to stop fighting. We're getting slaughtered. And he refuses to. That's when that kind of stuff happens. when the military is like, hey, we've had enough. We noticed you were staying at the Ritz-Carlton for the last 6 months. We're a little tired of it. So I'm not wishing for it. I'm not, I'm just saying he's playing with fire here. I think even with his own people.
Mhm.
So too.
Because his approval rating with his own people is just like, isn't it like crazy, like 4% or something like that?
It's very low. It's difficult to
I'm
know
sure he doesn't
because
even allow those polls. They're at
Right.
war, guys. They can't
Mhm.
ask those questions.
right.
Oh,
Neurodivergent one says you want the original Obama phone lady clip. I found it. Yes, post it in chat and mods don't
Oh.
delete it. The elephant's foot says, shout out to the elephant's foot. Reference to Chernobyl. My apologies for the idiotic actions of our far left government in Canada. It saddens me that people here are now disliked. My best fuel. I know, I hate that. We're going to cover the tariff thing after this. I covered it in a video that comes out at like 3:00 today. And it's like, I hate this. I don't have any issue with Canadians. And like our government with this tariff stuff, the American people seem more than willing to make this like America versus Canada. And
Mhm.
like, I don't like that.
right.
20% of my viewers are Canadian. Like, it's
Yeah.
not like I have 3 Canadian viewers. Like,
Right.
I know, and I've gotten to know a lot of you. And like, I don't think a
And they-
tariff war benefits either one of us.
Right. And as an American Canadian, I feel like I have to say Americans don't really understand the nuances of Canadian culture because it is so dominated by the progressive government and the more populous progressive areas. Like my
Yeah.
family is from Newfoundland. It's culturally very different from, Vancouver, which is very dominated by, I would say, by liberals and also by Asian immigration. Same thing with Toronto. Western Canada is not the same thing. In fact, my, love them family, but like my West Coast Canadian family makes fun of the more conservative parts of
Right.
Canada because that's the way they see it. So it definitely is. It's hard because Canada is right there, but actually Americans, they don't really get to see the nuances of American culture at all.
Or Canadian culture, right?
Yes, sorry, of
Right.
Canadian
Yeah.
culture.
I think that's probably true on both sides too.
Mhm.
Like Canadians of Americans. Because like, I didn't
Oh
like
yeah,
that we
Canadians
booed
make
their
fun of
anthem.
Americans like there's no tomorrow. I mean, they're
Yeah,
all
they
dumb
do.
redneck
Right.
kids,
Yeah.
even though they all want to go to New York or like
Yeah.
LA and get to see like the fancy liberal stuff. Like that's just the way it is.